This is the story of a teenage boy escaping war, leaving his family behind, building a new life for himself, constantly having to fear death. His name is Ramin Salehi. Ramin is my mom's cousin and at the time 15 years old when the Iran-Iraq War broke out. The Iran-Iraq War had started in 1980 and the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was overthrown and replaced by the Mullah regime, which is a religious-based regime. During the war with the leader of Iraq, Saddam Hussein, the Iranian government was in need of soldiers. At the age of 16, boys were taken from their families and recruited to fight in the war. In 1881, boys at the age of 16 were recruited, and so Ramin was one of them. In fear of losing her son, his mother paid an organization to smuggle him over the border to Turkey. As the majority of these children faced death on the battlefield, Ramin's mom took no chances. It was night and dark when Ramin had to say his goodbyes to his family. He was put into a minivan of an organization to be smuggled over the border to Turkey. As they barely made it through the border, Ramin had stayed in a camp for 2 weeks. The war was a push factor for Ramin to leave the country to survive. A push factor is a negative aspect that motivates one to leave their country. After the 2 weeks in camp passed, his mother has booked a flight for Ramin to fly to Canada. Bear in mind that this situation must have been frightening for Ramin. He had to leave his family behind, his country, at the age of 16. He was all alone and on his own journey. He was on his own and arrived as an asylee. An asylum seeker is a person who has left their home country as a political refugee and is seeking asylum in another. This brings me to my next point. Ramin was a political refugee in Canada because he was unable to return to his home country due to political persecution. When he arrived in Canada, Toronto, he had some money that his mom had given him, but that was all. He was able to live in an asylum home and started to take English classes, which were offered to him by the government. The experience must have been frightening and tough, arriving in a country which language you don't speak with little to no money. After he worked hard and was able to speak English, he started working as a warehouseman, lifting boxes in factories. He also had some difficulties with the culture. The Canadian and Iranian culture vary, and there are lots of differences. Ramin experienced a cultural exchange when he was confronted with the Canadian traditions. His new friends introduced him to their culture, and Ramin told them about his. A cultural exchange is the sharing of cultural information for the purpose of improving friendship and understanding each other. Ramin was not able to contact his family, as this would have endangered his life. The Iranian government was able to monitor all calls and messages. A telephone would have been too expensive anyway for the mother, and cannot be used during war. During this time, internet didn't exist, so there was no way of contacting his family that way either. Ramin had to adapt to a new country, language, people, environment at the age of 16. For a teenage boy who has escaped war to survive, he has endured a lot. Today, he is a successful engineer with his own family. He has a beautiful wife, a son, and a lovely daughter. And this is the story of Ramin Salehi.